everybody, my name is Python and welcome back to another episode here of Minecraft Survival from Python's World. Got a really fun one today, my friends, because we're going to do quite a lot of work on our settlement here, which, believe it or not, is still yet to be named. Yes, the inspiration for this place came from Flora Valley, from the original Python's World from back in 2018, but we never actually came up with a settlement name here. Now, as much as there's plenty of nodbacks to the original Python's World around here, I don't want this whole series to just be nodbacks to the old days. I want to have some new stuff going on as well. And as such, I don't simply want to just call this place Flora Valley again. So right here at the beginning of the episode, I'm going to ask for you folks to put your creative caps on. If you can think of any cool settlement names for this area, head down to the comments area and let me know. And if you see a comment down there that is a good suggestion already, go ahead and thumbs it up. The comment that has the most thumbs up will be the name we go for this settlement. The cool thing as well is I'm pretty sure the name Flora Valley came from one of your guys' suggestions as well. So yeah, we're keeping the ball rolling with asking for creative settlement names. That is a dark sky. I am pretty sure it is about to thunder. So let's have ourselves a snooze, get rid of this rain, and then what we're going to do is we're going to begin on what we're doing today. And that, my friends, is massively expanding our settlement pathways and trying to lay out the footprint of a whole bunch of future builds. We've already filled in a pretty decent amount of the area around here, but there are still plenty of areas to fill in. We've got this area leading up to the mine shaft entrance. We've got this little sort of overhang here, which I think we said we were going to make into like a black market, maybe a museum, somewhere to store the most valuable things in this world, perhaps. We've got this area here containing the pathway leading to one of the main entrances for this settlement. So yeah, we've got all this space here to work with. Other ideas I've got in mind include building up the perimeter mounds here. So yeah, we've got ourselves like a bit of a dirt mound here, and I want to connect it to this mound right here. And then I was thinking this corner here, which is sort of raised up, we could flatten it and then make ourselves a pretty wealthy looking house. So, I don't know, a house with modern type materials, maybe some concrete, maybe some quartz, things like that. And because it'll be on a raised platform, we would have some pretty amazing views of our settlement. And finally, leaving the largest space for last, we've got ourselves a pathway that could come through here. We could probably add ourselves in another main entrance in here. This is a very, very wide space though. Imagine the size of the towers and walkway we would have to make to sort of connect these two areas together. Blimey. But yeah, got loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of space going all the way back past this waterfall and down to this sort of secretive looking area. Look at that. We've got like a hidden pond down there. We've got a hidden pond down here. I was thinking maybe we could add a top layer to this. Maybe a top layer to this. And then we could plunge this area into darkness. And we could have ourselves like a mini cave settlement or something. Could be a cool idea. It's definitely an idea that I need to flesh out and plan a little bit better for. But yeah, I mean, the pieces are there, I think. So, do you know what we're going to do? We're actually going to start off with planning the largest area first, and then the other areas will seem very, very easy in comparison. So yeah, lots and lots of planning for future builds within this settlement to be done in today's episode. So if all of that sounds like your cup of tea, then please do be sure to continue dropping likes beneath the video to show your support for this series and channel. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you folks who have been dropping likes and showing your support. I truly appreciate it a ton, my friends. entrance. So, having deforested the area here, we have a slightly better idea as to the amount of space we have to work with. I've also gone ahead and placed down a few bits of cobble, and this marks where the town boundaries are. And what we need to do is we need to start planning out some more of the towers that we're going to be putting down around here. We already plotted down a couple of towers like way over there at that entrance, but yeah, this space is wide enough, I think, for 4 towers. 1 tower there, 1 tower there, and then 2 towers forming the entrance sort of in the middle. So, I am going to do a little bit of landscaping here because, well, the landscape is all kind of higgledy-piggledy in places. Like, for example, over here, I can only suspect that Endermen have come through and picked up a bunch of blocks and placed them down in different places, and, well, as a result, yeah, this place looks a little bit skew-if, I think. What would make things far easier is if all of this wall and all of the towers are placed down on the same elevation level. It will just make things a bit easier to work out, I guess. So for us, that means going ahead and shaving away another dirt/grass layer, and then building the dirt and grass up around here. Now, I know, watching someone go ahead and dig up blocks and place them down in other places without actually having built anything is probably not the most interesting thing in the world to watch. But what we're doing is we are working on the foundations of this place to be able to make ourselves a bunch of epic builds in the future. So yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll pretty much just put my head down and I'm gonna get this preparatory work done, and then we'll be able to start plotting the footprints of our various builds we're gonna be placing around here. Alrighty, my friends, so check it out. We've got the 4 towers plotted down, and the entrance has been marked via this pathway here. So it turns out we've got a little bit of space on the left here, just as you enter the settlement. What exactly am I going to put here? I gotta be honest, I've no idea. It's a very narrow area. There are farms, which encompass only a narrow area, though. We could potentially have a fully automatic sugarcane farm, maybe a fully auto bamboo farm. They can be pretty narrow, right? Maybe an automatic sheep shearing farm. That could also be a good way to go. But yeah, another main entrance has been plotted out. So we're looking pretty good here. Now what we could do is we can grab ourselves out a whole bunch of cobblestone, and then we could start plotting down where the paths are gonna go. I would go ahead and just do this with the path blocks, but if I make a mistake or I feel like something needs to change, then yeah, it's going to be a bit of a faff, isn't it? So yeah, let's see if we can't mark down a pathway. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this pathway sort of towards the inside mound here, and then eventually it's going to link up to the path right next to our episode 1 house. So check it out. We've got ourselves another narrow space just as you enter the settlement on the right-hand side here. I was thinking maybe kind of like a mini house or something. We could potentially have a villager or 2 here, and they could act as like the guard for this settlement, and then maybe at the other entrance we could have ourselves another house with another villager acting as a guard for the village. Or instead of villagers, how about iron golems? Oh, dude, that could be so cool. So, the next thing I want to do is I want to figure out some new creeks. It looks like we've got ourselves a couple of waterfalls that we haven't done anything with just yet. So, I'm going to see if I can't change that. Maybe we can have a creek that goes directly into the wall there, and then maybe it sort of connects up with this water source. And then from this water source, it can eventually meander all the way down the hill, connecting up with this creek. And then, of course, this big creek connects up to the lake down here. In terms of geology, I think that makes sense. I mean, you know, you get water starting at the top, and then it sort of meanders down a hill into a big central point, right? And yeah, I know, we've got another big old waterfall here, but that goes down into the sort of secretive cave area. So I don't think I'm going to do anything with this one, just the 2 that I was mentioning earlier. Do you know what? This whole creek making thing thing is actually turning out to be a little bit more difficult than I first thought. We want to have all of the water streams eventually connect up all together and lead directly down into the lake, but in terms of the altitudes and having the water flows actually connect up together without having any stationary water, I want it all to be flowing. Yeah, it's a bit on the difficult side, actually. So I had a genius idea. What if we were to make an aqueduct here? Right, we could have a big old bridge serving no purpose other than to carry the water over here. And then we'd basically dig out a little bit of a thing in the rocks there to the point where the water can connect up to here. I mean, I don't know about you folks, but I think that's a pretty cool idea. And then eventually the aqueduct could indeed serve another purpose. It could also act as an entryway into this area. The flooded, forgotten, eventually dark caves. Oh, that is such a boss idea. Yeah, how about that in terms of the aqueduct height? Dude, this is gonna look so freaking boss. Like, seriously, it is. I love the aqueduct idea. Have I ever made an aqueduct before in Minecraft? I don't recall, if I'm being honest. If I haven't, then this is gonna be a Minecraft first for you, boy. And, well, to be honest, I'm actually quite excited about it. Oh, yeah, something else I'm excited about is the fact I have this villager zombie in here now. I have blocked off the entrance to the storage room, and as a result of this guy holding a stick, he shouldn't ever despawn. You want to know what the best thing is? This guy can't crouch, but I can. What are you going to do about that, sunshine? Alright, folks, bit of a progress update. I've gone ahead and I've marked down a bunch of pathways, and I've also gone ahead and built, like, the very, very basic form of the aqueduct. And you might notice that I've heightened the aqueduct walls by a little bit, and that's because, rather like over here with these creeks, I want the water to always be flowing. So we've got the water going down to the top layer of cobblestone there, then the middle layer, then the bottom layer. But yeah, look at all the pathways I have plotted out now. I've even plotted out a little bit of a mini secret entrance into the settlement. Going past where the aqueduct is, check this out. I've decided that it would be a cool idea to have a bridge here. But instead of getting rid of the waterfall, we're going to adapt it. We're going to have it be part of this bridge itself. We can have ourselves like a little bit of a decorative thing surrounding the actual waterfall itself. And then, you know, the walkways will just go either side. And then we're over here, wherever here winds up being. And it goes without saying, eventually we're going to want to have pathways going down into the so-called Forgotten Lakes area. I think that's what I'm going to call it, like the Forgotten Lakes. I think that's a really, really cool name, to be honest. I mean, think of all the little builds I could do down here. So what do we think, folks? Is it finally time to begin construction on the pathways themselves? I think so. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. So we've already got the bridge connected up to the underside of the aqueduct. Now all we need to do is get the pathways going basically wherever the cobblestone is, and then we can start whipping out some deep slate, and the deep slate will be the footprints of the eventual builds that'll be going here. I must admit, I was kind of worried that I wouldn't have something cool to show in the video thumbnail today, but actually, once we've got all these pathways sorted out and the footprints of the builds placed down, I think we might have something that looks kind of decent, actually. Alright, so that's the western road placed down and all connected up. Okay, so I've just noticed a bit of an inconsistency. These pathways are, what, 2 blocks wide, give or take? However, the ones up here are 3 blocks wide. Rats. Okay, right. I'm going to have to go ahead and narrow these pathways a little bit. But actually, that's good news because we've got 2 blocks wide pathway here, so that's already perfect. But by narrowing these pathways down to 2 blocks wide, we'll be able to have just a little bit more space to play with. Say, for example, in the middle here, whereas before, we would have had 2 blocks less space. So, yeah. Alright, shouldn't be too difficult to amend this. That would explain it. The reason why I did the pathways 3 blocks wide is because, as you can see here, this pathway is 3 blocks wide. But I feel like the main entrance paths should be 3 blocks wide to make them feel a little bit more sort of grand. But then, yeah, we just sort of narrow them down to 2 blocks when we get to these pathways. And here we go. We have ourselves the pathways laid out for this area. All nicely connected up. And yes, in some places the pathways are 3 blocks wide, but in most cases the pathways are in fact 2 blocks wide. So yeah, I think we've got a nice little something going on. We've got a lot of space to start plotting builds out on. So let's go ahead and do exactly that. The first thing I want to do, though, is I want to figure out this area here, this very, very narrow area. Now, of course, these represent where the towers are going to go, but could we potentially squeeze a little bit of a pathway in here just so we can eventually access what is going to become the automatic bamboo / sugarcane monster machine of epicness? Yeah, that's a name I just came up with off the top of my head. Thank you very much. No, it's a terrible name. I'm sorry. But yeah, you get the point. We're going to have ourselves some farms sort of carved into the mountains here. And all we need to do in order to grab the produce is just walk up over here. And we'll just have ourselves a bunch of output chests. So, I have decided to make this tree part of the settlement as well. Rather similar to how I've left up all the other large oak trees and just sort of adapted them, made them part of the settlement. I just like doing that. They just look nice. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, yeah, we've got the pathway going either side of the tree. It goes up here above this creek and it's going to lead into one big old rim back here. And you know what? I think I've got an idea as to what I would like to put in here. And it was something that was suggested by you folks, and that is like an update museum. You know how at the end of the last episode, we had ourselves like a bit of a display showcasing all of the new stuff in the Spring to Life update? After seeing that suggestion from you folks, I just kind of decided, you know what? That's a really, really cool idea. We don't necessarily have to get like every single thing that is in the update, but more so the more notable things, like for the Spring to Life update, the new foliage, and the new animal variants, perhaps? Although, with that said, we've already got the animal variants sort of within our actual barn / farm areas, so maybe it's more so the foliage in this case. You know what we should do as we go along, though? We should probably start marking down what the builds are going to be via signposts. Then, future me won't have an excuse in terms of, you know, forgetting what builds are going where. So, having plotted out a few builds down in this section here, we're going to have ourselves a small house with a little stable as marked out by the cobblestone. And yes, we already have a stable for a horse. However, we don't have one for a mule or a donkey. So, the mule or donkey can go in here, and then the other one, whatever it may wind up being, can go elsewhere. Maybe this could be a little stable? Actually, yeah. That might not be a bad shout. Now we have the task of filling in this whopping great area. And do you know what? I think I might have an idea for what builds can go in here. On several occasions in the past, I have tried Project Pokemon Librarian Edition. And for those of you folks who don't know what I mean by that, basically it's like a series-long project where we have a whopping great massive build, and it hosts a whole bunch of librarian villagers. And the goal is to have one of every single top-tier enchanted book you can get in this game for only a singular emerald. So things like Mending, Unbreaking 3, Protection 4, Efficiency 5, all that kind of stuff. It would all wind up being in a one-stop shop place. Project Pokemon Librarian Edition is coming back. The only thing is, though, I need to get inspiration from my previous builds that I had to host Project Pokemon Librarian Edition. Otherwise, I have absolutely no clue just how big this build is going to be. It's probably going to take up the vast majority of the space here. I mean, who knows? This might not even be big enough. I don't know. I'm going to have to go back through my previous worlds and have a look. Oh, man. How about this for a blast from the past? But weirdly, not from this channel. This was the long-term Let's Play I had on my Pythonator channel while I was running that Minecraft channel over this one. And the build that we are looking for is this one. What I need to do is figure out the dimensions of this build, and then hopefully I'll be able to plot it down in Python's world. But yeah, just popping on inside real quick. This is what I was on about. We have ourselves spaces for every single kind of top tier enchanted book trade you can get. So fire protection, fire aspect, feather falling, efficiency. I think I even had these in alphabetical order, so that could be something to try and replicate again. But yes, this is going to be our inspiration for our brand new Project Pokemon Librarian Edition build. So after doing some good old-fashioned counting, this build turns out to be 43 blocks wide and 23 blocks long. Let's see if we can plot that down in Python's world. The simple answer is no. A build of that size will not fit in this space. Not without doing a little bit of jiggery-pokery with the pathways, but even then, you know, we need to go, what is it, 43 blocks in width? And that means going quite far into the mound there. Yeah. That's not going to work. But here's the thing. I don't know if you folks noticed, but on the Project Pokemon Librarian Edition build on the old Let's Play world, the villagers had a good amount of space in their pens. We could quite easily condense that build to house all of the villagers necessary. One for every single type of top tier enchanted book trade there is. Alright, well, this is definitely going to take a few attempts, I imagine, but I'm going to try and do this thing. Number one, I need to figure out just how many top tier enchanted book trades there are now, and then number two, we need to try and figure out where each of the villages can go. So, have some patience. And I'm saying that to myself because, oh my goodness me, is this going to take a while to figure out. For you folks, it'll be the next cut in literally 1 second's time. So the magic number of librarian villagers we're looking for is a whopping 36. There are 36 top tier enchants that you can get in this game that are tradable via villagers. There's actually technically 42 enchants in the game. 3 of them are not obtainable via villager trading. 2 of them are curse enchants, and what kind of strange person would want those? And the final one is actually one that you find inside of the combat test experimental toggle thingy. So yeah, that leaves 36. And do you know what? 36 is actually quite a nice number because you can divide 36 by 4 and you've got 9, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So if we were to have ourselves a 2-story building, we could have 2 stories of 3 villages along each wall. So it would be 6, 12, 18, and then you double that for this side, and you'd be up to 36. And yes, by the way, I know I said earlier in the episode that I don't want all of the builds to all be nodbacks to my old series, but I'm still yet to complete Project Pokemon Librarian Edition, which is why I want to bring it back so I can complete it. You might notice that so far in this series, I've not brought back the 1000 Diamond Ore Mining Challenge, and that is simply because in the Let's Play that I did over on the Pythonator channel, believe it or not, I actually completed it. And as a result, it kind of burned me out from, you know, mining tons and tons of diamonds. Ah, yeah, I think we've got ourselves a bit of a something going on here. All of these cobblestone bits represent where the villagers are gonna go. And for example, this front cobblestone block will be where the lectern goes, and then the back cobblestone block is where the villager goes. Now, yes, it does unfortunately mean that the villagers won't have much roaming space. They will have 1 block, but they'll get emeralds by selling me stuff, right? So it's not like they're not earning a little bit of a something. I've just now realized though, 36 villagers. That's going to weigh down the entity count of this area by a fair bit. But, do you know what? It's just kind of one of those things. I want to have it done because if and when I get it done, I'll never ever have to do it again. I'll never ever have to worry about making certain bits of gear ever again. Like, can you imagine how much of a luxury that would be? But yes, there we go. Project Pokemon Librarian Edition, the build has been plotted. And yeah, it's still going to be a very, very large build. And check this out. We've even got space to spare around the edge. We could totally add a bunch of trees and foliage so we can integrate this build into the surrounding area a bit better, you know? Do you know what? As I plot all of these builds down, my excitement levels for this settlement are growing, like, by a lot. So we'll have house for security guard. There we are. That's that one done. Any more spaces where I can add houses? Not really. That's the secret entrance there, of course. Maybe there could be a little bit of a something put here? I'm not entirely sure just yet. Same with over here. Maybe we could have like a build that's, you know, carved into the mountains or something. I mean, there's probably quite a lot of space to play with inside these big old mountains. So, yeah, again, if you folks have any ideas for things we could put in these mountains or any of the other builds, then do let me know. But anyways, and I apologize if this seems a bit abrupt, but we will be wrapping up today's episode right here, unless you want this episode to be delayed by yet another day. I'm well aware that it's been a little bit since the last episode, and honestly, this whole planning procedure, as much as, you know, yeah, it's fun, boy oh boy, does it take a long time. But it's one of those things when you've got it done, you can start making some proper progress on your world. Now, before we get into the comment of the day, I was saying in the last episode that I wanted to start shouting out donos, in other words, YouTube Super Chats. So to all of you folks in this book here, I want to say a massive, massive thank you for going above and beyond with your support. I truly do appreciate it a ton, my friends. Basically, I went back to the very, very start of the series, and then I took down all of the dono amounts from the start of this series here. So, yeah, we're up to date in that sense. Now, for the comment of the day. For today, it comes from Zach Donor, and they ask, now, the most important question about this update. Can you put any of the new flowers in flower pots? Well, I've got everything on me, so how's about we experiment just a little bit? So we've got the wildflowers. Wasn't expecting them to be put in because it's sort of a floor decoration, I guess. Same with the leaf litter. Sadly not. Cactus flower. Oh. Well, that's unfortunate. Now, that is something I would have expected to be able to put in this. Firefly bush? Nope. Regular bush? No. Tall dry grass? No. Short... Are you kidding me? Come on, man! They missed such a big opportunity to expand upon the amount of stuff she could put in flower pots. 7 new foliage types, and not one of them you could put in a flower pot? Is it just me who finds that to be a massive, massive oversight on the developer's part? Come on, you got to allow at least some of these things to go in flower pots. To be fair, I imagine they'd probably wind up doing that anyway, because, yeah, I mean, it can't be that much of a difficult thing to do, right? But then again, I am not a developer, and I certainly don't dabble with Java language, so, yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but... I don't know. It just seems like an oversight. You should be able to put some of these things into the flower pots at the very least. But anyways, on that note, it's time to wrap up today's episode. We've still got a bunch of planning to do around this area and the other entrance way over here, but we'll do that in a future episode. We've got a lot of planning done in today's episode, and as such, I have a lot of things that I can now do. Lots of builds that I could begin working on. I'm very, very excited for it. I really do hope you folks are as well. Drop a like if you have enjoyed today's episode, and of course, if you don't want to miss out on my future content, where we actually make a start on these builds, then make sure you subscribe to the channel with those bell notifications turned on. For now though, thanks for watching, have a fantastic rest of your day, thanks for all of your lovely support, and I shall see you folks in the next one. Bye bye!